Siddharth, could you explain, you talked about how is it that China came to play such a huge role in the cobalt mining industry, owning and financing as many of the mines, 15 out of the 19 major industrial copper cobalt mining complexes in the main cobalt producing provinces that you visited. How has China come to play this role? And then talk about the depots. The bosses that you spoke to, it was very difficult to get into the depots. They all have armed guards and so on. What did those, the Chinese bosses of these depots tell you about the conditions there, what they're doing there? And did they take any responsibility at all for the conditions under which these miners were working?
Well, in a way, you have to give China credit. 15 plus years ago, they saw that the future was going to be rechargeable batteries, and that meant cobalt. And they shrewdly determined all the cobalts in the Congo. And starting in 2009, with the previous administration of President Joseph Kabila, they started signing deals. And the first one they signed in 2009 was a $6 billion loan and infrastructure deal in exchange for access to several copper cobalt mines in the Congo. And that opened the door, that opened the floodgates, and then it was one state-run Chinese mining company after another signing deals with the Kabila administration. And before the West knew what was happening, China had locked down the bottom of the cobalt supply chain. And from that point forward, they vertically integrated it. They control probably 70 to 80% of mining production on the ground in the Congo. Last year, they supplied about 80% of the world's supply of refined cobalt and probably half of the world's supply of rechargeable batteries for phones, laptops, and cars. But how does this artisanal cobalt, the child mine cobalt, enter into that formal supply chain? Well, there's an informal ecosystem that exists right next to the formal supply chain. And imagine it like this. You have hundreds of thousands of people digging all around that part of the countryside, filling up sacks of cobalt. And they take it to these depots, or they're also called buying houses. And most of them are run by Chinese agents. And their job is to buy up artisanal cobalt and sell it straight to industrial mining companies. And so you can just sit outside, and they advertise with these pink tarps. They'll say copper cobalt depot, $1 million depot, a $ depot. And so artisanal miners sell their cobalt to these buying houses. And at the end of the day, you see huge cargo trucks from the industrial mines pull up and buy up all these sacks, hundreds and hundreds of sacks, so tons of cobalt being purchased, and they take them right into the industrial mine where it's then mixed with the industrial production. And from that point forward, this is very important for people to understand. From that point forward, there is no way to disaggregate which cobalt was pulled out of the ground by an excavator and which cobalt was pulled out of the ground by hands of a child. And any company that claims otherwise is either recklessly ignorant of the truth on the ground or they're dealing in falsehood.